The rain-slicked asphalt gleamed under the sodium lamps of Seattle's Pike Place Market as Noah Harlan slammed his fist into the brick wall of the alley, the pain shooting up his arm like a jolt from a live wire. "You lied," he whispered to the empty shadows, his voice cracking like thunder over the sound, the words tasting of salt and betrayal as hot tears mixed with the downpour on his face. In that moment, the ghost of Hunter's laugh echoed from the market stalls behind him, bright, reckless, promising everything, and Noah knew he'd chase that echo through hell if it meant one more day in the sun they were supposed to share. Noah had always hated the rain, but Seattle wore it like a second skin, turning the city into a perpetual watercolor of grays and greens that blurred the edges of everything sharp. He was 28 now, old enough to know better than to build castles in the air, but young enough to still bleed from the ruins. That night in the alley, 3 months after Hunter vanished without a trace, Noah had come to the market not for the fishmonger's shouts or the bouquets of wilting lavender, but for the spot where it all began. The fish-throwing counter, where a tourist once captured their first kiss on a shaky phone video that went viral in their private world. Two strangers locking eyes amid the chaos, the world tilting on its axis. He leaned against the cool brick, breath ragged, replaying the memory like a film reel stuck in a projector. It was June, the kind of Pacific Northwest summer that tricked you into believing the sun might stick around. Noah had been hawking his handmade leather journals at a pop-up stall, the kind etched with maps of forgotten trails he'd hiked alone to escape the ache of his last breakup. His fingers, calloused from stitching hides in his cramped Capitol Hill apartment, had trembled that day when a broad-shouldered guy in a faded UC Santa Barbara hoodie paused at his table, flipping through a journal with covers of weathered oak bark. "You make these?" the guy asked, his voice low and warm, like whiskey by a bonfire. Dark hair cropped close, hazel eyes flecked with gold, a jawline that could cut glass. Hunter Reyes, though Noah wouldn't learn his full name until dawn the next day. "Yeah," Noah replied, forcing a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Keeps the ghosts at bay." Hunter's grin split wide, revealing a dimple Noah would later trace with his thumb in the quiet hours. "Ghosts, huh? Well, this one's got your name on it." He bought the journal on impulse, scribbling his number inside the front cover before handing it back. "Call me when you need a real adventure. Not this rainy bullshit." Noah called that night, and by week's end, they were tangled in sheets that smelled of salt air and possibility. Hunter was 30, a freelance photographer who'd washed up in Seattle chasing storm clouds for his portfolio, but really, Noah suspected, running from the sprawl of Los Angeles, where his family still clung to old-world expectations, Catholic guilt wrapped in ranch-style houses and Sunday barbecues. Hunter never said it outright, but the way his shoulders tensed when his phone buzzed with calls from Mom spoke volumes. Noah, orphan young and raised by a string of indifferent aunts in a trailer park on the outskirts of Tacoma, understood silences like that. They were the language of survival. Their first real date was a hike up Rattlesnake Ledge, the trailhead choked with ferns and the distant roar of waterfalls. Noah packed sandwiches, peanut butter and strawberry jam, simple as his heart still hoped to be, and Hunter brought his camera, snapping shots of Noah mid-stride, sweat beading on his temple, the world reduced to a frame of wild beauty. At the summit, with the Olympics jagged against the horizon, Hunter pulled him close, lips brushing his ear. "One summer," he murmured, the words sealing like a vow. "Just you and me. No ghosts, no rain. We'll drive down the coast, chase the light till it burns us both." Noah's heart stuttered. He'd heard promises before, whispered in dorm rooms at UW, shattered by dawn's light, but Hunter's eyes held the weight of truth. They mapped it out on napkins over coffee at a hole-in-the-wall in Fremont. Highway 101 twisting through redwoods, campfires on Oregon beaches, stolen nights in motels with neon signs flickering like faulty stars. August, when the tourists thinned and the world felt theirs alone. The weeks blurred into a fever dream of stolen moments. Mornings in Noah's apartment, where sunlight slanted through blinds warped by years of neglect, painting Hunter's skin in gold stripes as they moved together, slow and deliberate, learning the map of each other's scars. Hunter's were faint lines from a childhood fall off his grandfather's horse in the Inland Empire, stories he told with a laugh that hid the ache. Noah's were deeper, invisible, the boy who'd come out at 16 to an aunt who said, "Fine, but don't bring that shame home." They fit, those broken pieces, slotting into place like puzzle edges worn smooth by time. Evenings found them wandering Queen and steep streets, hands brushing in the crowd, Hunter's camera capturing the city's pulse. A drag queen belting show tunes outside a dive bar, the ferry horn moaning across the water like a lover's sigh. One night, under the Space Needle's glow, Hunter knelt, not for a ring, but to tie Noah's bootlace, his fingers lingering on the ankle bone. "You're it for me," he said simply, and Noah believed him, because in Hunter's gaze, the future wasn't a threat but a horizon. But cracks spiderwebbed early, subtle as Seattle's summer fog. Hunter's phone would light up during their quiet dinners, ramen slurped from mismatched bowls, and he'd silence it with a curse, excusing himself to the fire escape. Noah caught fragments once. "Papa, I can't. It's not like that." The words hung heavy, laced with a plea Noah pretended not to hear. His own family was a ghost town, but Hunter's was a battlefield, conservative roots clashing against the man he'd become. Noah pushed it down, told himself love was enough to bridge chasms. July brought heat waves that steamed the sidewalks, and with them, the countdown to their road trip. They pooled cash, Noah from journal sales, Hunter from a gig shooting at indie band's tour, and bought a beat-up '92 Ford Ranger from a Craigslist ad in Ballard, its bed rusted but reliable. They christened it with a drive to Golden Gardens, parking at the edge of the beach where driftwood sculpted the shore. There, with waves lapping at their bare feet, Hunter pulled a Polaroid from his pocket. The two of them, arms slung around shoulders, grinning like fools at a county fair Noah's aunt once dragged him to. "This is us," Hunter said, tucking it into Noah's wallet. "Proof the world's not all storm." Noah kissed him then, fierce and forgetting, the salt on Hunter's skin tasting of oceans they hadn't crossed. They made love in the truck's cab, windows fogged, the world narrowing to breaths and touches that etched promises into muscle memory. Afterward, tangled in a blanket stolen from Noah's couch, Hunter traced constellations on Noah's chest. "Ever think about forever?" he asked, voice soft as sea glass. "Every damn day," Noah admitted, heart pounding. "With you?" "Yeah." Hunter's smile faltered, just a flicker, but Noah saw it, the shadow of doubt. He chalked it up to the hour, the vulnerability of naked truths. They drove back with the radio blasting Springsteen, Thunder Road, an anthem for runaways. And Noah let himself dream of the summer ahead. Bonfires in Cannon Beach, tide pools teeming with stars, Hunter's hand in his under endless skies. The market memory pulled Noah back to the present, the rain easing to a drizzle that pattered like hesitant applause. He straightened, wiping his face with the sleeve of his hoodie, the fabric threadbare from too many washes. 3 months since Hunter's truck vanished from the lot behind Noah's building. Keys left on the kitchen counter with a note. "I'm sorry. Needed space. Don't wait." No calls, no texts, just silence thicker than the Puget fog. Noah had scoured socials at first, Hunter's Instagram frozen on a shot from their last hike. 2 silhouettes against a blood-orange sunset, captioned, "Chasing Light." Then nothing. He wandered the stalls now, ghosts in every corner. The coffee cart where Hunter once burned his tongue on a too-hot Americano, spilling it down his shirt in a laugh that lit Noah's world. The flower stand, where they'd bought a single daisy on a whim, Hunter tucking it behind Noah's ear with a wink. "My wildflower," he'd called him, and Noah had melted, defenses crumbling like sandcastles at high tide. Back in his apartment that night, a third-floor walk-up in Capitol Hill where ivy choked the fire escape, Noah poured bourbon from a bottle Hunter had left half full. The place reeked of absence. Hunter's flannel draped over the armchair, his camera bag slumped by the door like a defeated soldier. Noah sank onto the couch, the springs groaning in sympathy, and flipped open the journal Hunter had bought that first day. Pages filled now with Noah's scrawls, sketches of their route, pressed wildflowers from hikes, entries like diary confessions. July 15th. He looked at me today like I'm the only map he needs. God, I hope that's true. He slammed it shut, the bourbon burning a path to his gut. Sleep came fitful, dreams laced with Highway 101's curves, Hunter's truck veering off into abyss. Dawn broke gray, and Noah rose with the resolve of the desperate. He'd find him. Not to beg, but to understand. One summer promised, one day to reclaim. He grabbed his keys, the Polaroid from his wallet a talisman against the void. The drive south started unremarkable. I-5 a ribbon of asphalt flanked by evergreens that whispered secrets to the wind. Noah's old Subaru, a hand-me-down from his aunt with 200k miles on the clock, hummed like an old friend, radio tuned to static-fuzzed indie stations playing songs about lost loves and open roads. He stopped first in Olympia, the state capital's quiet streets a bomb after Seattle's clamor, grabbing coffee at a bookstore cafe where locals nursed laptops and dreams. The barista, a wiry kid with blue-streaked hair, eyed Noah's haunted gaze. "Rough night?" he asked, sliding over the cup. "Rough everything," Noah muttered, tipping extra. He scanned Hunter's last known haunts. Galleries in the Arts District, a dive bar called The Spar where photographers swapped war stories over IPAs. Nothing, just echoes. By afternoon, he crossed into Oregon, the landscape shifting to coastal dunes and the tang of brine in the air. Florence welcomed him with motels strung along Highway 101 like beads on a necklace, their vacancy signs flickering promises. Noah checked into the Driftwood Inn, a squat building with peeling paint and a view of the Siuslaw River mouth. His room smelled of mildew and faded dreams, bedspread a floral relic from the 70s. He unpacked light, journal, Polaroid, a change of clothes, and the bourbon for nights when silence screamed. That evening, he walked the beach, boots sinking into wet sand, the Pacific a restless beast under bruised skies. Waves crashed like accusations, foam curling around his ankles. He thought of their plan. Camping here, roasting marshmallows over driftwood fires, Hunter's arms a harbor against the cold. Instead, Noah built a solitary blaze, flames licking salt-crusted logs, shadows dancing like specters. He pulled out the journal, pen scratching furious. Day 1, alone, but not broken. Yet, firelight caught the edge of the Polaroid, Hunter's grin frozen eternal. Noah traced it, thumbs smudging the emulsion. What had pulled him under? Family? Fear? Or had Noah been a summer fling, a detour before the real road called? The questions gnawed, sharper than hunger. A figure approached from the dunes, silhouette broad against the dying light. A jogger, maybe, or a local walking dogs. Noah tensed, heart leaping foolish hope, but it was just an old man in a slicker, tossing a stick for a Labrador that bounded joyful. "Mind if I warm up?" the man called, voice gravelly. Noah nodded, scooting over. They shared silence first, then stories. The man, Earl, a retired fisherman widowed young. Tales of storms that swallowed boats whole. "Loss is the sea's gift," Earl said, poking the fire. "Takes what it wants, leaves you the wreckage to rebuild from." Noah swallowed hard. What if the wreckage is all you have left? Earl's eyes, roomy but kind, met his. "Then you learn to sail single-masted. Ain't pretty, but it's yours." They parted with a nod, Earl vanishing into the dark, and Noah lay by the fire till embers glowed like Hunter's eyes in memory. Sleep claimed him there, dreams of roads untraveled, hands reaching across voids. Morning brought mist that clung like regret, but Noah pressed on, Subaru devouring miles toward Newport. The coast unfolded in drama. Basalt cliffs scarred by wind, lighthouses standing sentinel, whales breaching distant like omens. He stopped at Devil's Punch Bowl, the natural arch a cauldron of churning sea, and hurled a pebble into the froth, a wish, a curse, a plea for Hunter to surface. In town, he hit the Yaquina Bay seafood shacks, ordering clam chowder in a sourdough bowl that steamed comfort. Locals chattered about the Dungeness crab season, but Noah's ears pricked at mentions of a photographer fitting Hunter's description: tall, intense, camera always slung. "Saw a guy like that last month," a waitress said, wiping counters. "Snapping, you know, the bay at sunset. Quiet type, paid cash." Noah's pulse raced. "Where? Which motel?" She shrugged. "Wandered off south, I think. Toward Yatchet's." It was a thread, thin as spider silk, but he clutched it. The drive to Yatchet's wound through Heceta Head, lighthouse beam cutting fog like a knife. Noah arrived as sun broke through, painting the ocean gold. The Cape Cove B&B, a Victorian perched on bluffs, seemed too quaint for Hunter's restless soul, but he checked anyway. The innkeeper, a woman with silver braids, shook her head. "No, dear. But try the tide pools down the trail. Folks go there for solitude." Solitude. The word tasted bitter. Noah hiked the path, slick with spray, to pools teeming with anemones and starfish, worlds in miniature. He sat on a rock, journal open, writing feverishly. "If you're out there, why does it hurt this much? One summer, that's all I asked." A gull cried overhead, mocking, and tears came unbidden, hot against the chill wind. He let them fall, mingling with saltwater spray. For the first time since the alley, Grief felt like release, not drowning. That night in a roadside diner, fluorescent lights buzzing like angry bees, Noah overheard truckers swapping tales. One mentioned a bar in Waldport, the Rusty Anchor, where wanderers washed up. He drove there under stars pricked like bullet holes in black velvet. The place a squat building with neon luring like a siren's call. Inside, smoke and stale beer, pool cues cracking, faces etched by hard miles. He nursed a pint at the bar, scanning for hazel eyes, but found only strangers. A cowboy type, boots scuffed, hat tipped low, slid onto the stool beside him. "You look lost, kid." Noah glanced over. The man's name tag reading Cole on a flannel shirt. Mid-40s, weathered like driftwood, but kind crinkles at his eyes. "Just passing through," Noah said. Cole chuckled. "Ain't we all? Buy you another?" They talked then, easy, unburdened. Cole was a long-haul driver from Bend, hauling timber, divorced with a daughter in college. "Love's a highway," he said, clinking glasses. "Some exits you miss, some you crash into." Noah shared fragments. The promise, the vanishing. Cole listened without pity, just nods. Sounds like he was running from himself. "Not you." The words landed soft, a poultice on raw skin. They parted with a handshake, Cole slipping him a card. "If you need a ride anywhere." And Noah drove to a pullout overlooking the sea, sleeping in the Subaru's backseat to the rhythm of waves. Days bled into a rhythm, miles logged, motels checked, locals queried. Noah's beard grew and patchy, his green eyes hollowed by lack of sleep, but a quiet fire kindled, not vengeance, but reclamation. He photographed now, borrowing Hunter's old Canon from the bag, capturing the coast's raw poetry, gnarled trees clawing sky, surfers carving waves like scars. In Bandon, the beach's sea stacks rose like ancient guardians, and Noah climbed one at low tide, heart hammering. At the top, wind whipping, he shouted into the void, "Come back." Echoes mocked, but catharsis surged, a tide turning. Southward still, toward the California line, hope flickered dim but stubborn. One summer, one day, he'd find it, or forge it from the ashes. The Subaru's tires hummed over the state line into California, the air shifting from brine chill to sun-baked warmth that seeped into Noah's bones like a long-denied embrace. Redwood curtains flanked the road, giants whispering of eternities longer than heartbreak, and for the first time in weeks, Noah cracked his window, letting the scent of earth and eucalyptus chase the ghosts from his lungs. Crescent City greeted him with a harbor bustle, crab pots stacked like forgotten toys, fishermen's calls mingling with gull screeches, and he parked near the Battery Point Lighthouse, its white clapboard a beacon against slate skies. He'd lost track of days, calendar marked in journal margins with cryptic tallies. Mile 347, Chowder in Newport. No sign. But here, in the redwood shadow, a pull tugged stronger, as if the land remembered Hunter's touch. Noah wandered the trails of Jedediah Smith Park, boots crunching needles soft as regret, camera slung over his shoulder. He snapped ferns unfurling like secrets, sunlight piercing canopy in God rays that dappled the forest floor. One frame caught a fallen log bridged by moss, a metaphor unbidden, decay birthing life. Lunch was fish tacos from a roadside stand, wrapped in foil that crinkled like Hunter's laugh. The vendor, a sun-leathered woman named Rosa, eyed his riggers. "You chasing someone, Mijo?" Noah paused, salsa dripping. "Or running from myself." She nodded, wisdom in her wrinkles. Same road, different signs. Afternoon led to Eureka, the Victorian gingerbread town with streets like storybook lanes. Noah hit the galleries on 2nd Street, heart thudding at each door. The third, a loft space called Foglight Fine Arts, held promise. Walls hung with stormscapes that screamed Hunter's style. Turbulent seas in monochrome, emotion distilled to shadow and surge. The curator, a bespectacled man in linen, brightened. "Reyes?" "Yes, he showed here last spring. Talented, but troubled. Said something about family obligations pulling him south." "South?" Noah echoed, pulse a drum. "LA, I think. Left a contact. Old warehouse in Echo Park." The address burned in Noah's pocket like contraband. He thanked the man, fleeing to his car where he punched it into GPS. For 100 miles, a day's drive through wine country and sprawl. Exhaustion warred with adrenaline, but he pushed on, stopping only in Garbaville for gas and a diner burger that sat heavy as doubt. Night fell over the Avenue of the Giants. redwoods looming like silent judges, and Noah pulled into a roadside camp, pitching a tent borrowed from his aunt's garage. Fire crackled under stars indifferent, bourbon from a flask warming his veins. Journal entry. Close now. What if he doesn't want found? Dawn broke crimson, and the drive south intensified. Mendocino's cliffs dropping sheer to turquoise, Fort Bragg's glass beach glittering like shattered promises. Noah's mind wandered to their imagined itinerary. Picnics in Sonoma vineyards, Hunter's head on his lap as they watched hawks wheel. Reality intruded with traffic snarls near San Francisco, the Golden Gate a rust-orange arch mocking his urgency. He skirted the city, foghorns moaning lament, and plunged into the Central Valley's flat infinity, orchards stretching endless under relentless sun. Heat shimmered, mirages dancing, and Noah's shirt clung damp, a second skin of sweat and resolve. By dusk, Santa Barbara's mission bells tolled, adobe walls glowing terracotta, and he crashed at a budget motel, shower scalding away miles. Morning brought LA's maw, freeways veined like rivers of steel, palm silhouettes stark against smog-veiled peaks. Noah navigated Echo Park's hipster haze, taco trucks steaming, murals exploding color on brick, heart a fist in his chest. The warehouse loomed on a side street, graffiti-tagged concrete with a roll-up door ajar, lights spilling like invitation. Inside, chaos reigned. Canvases stacked, prints pinned to rafters, the air thick with developer chemicals. A figure hunched over and larger, not Hunter, but a lanky assistant with tattoos snaking arms. "Help you?" he asked, wiping hands on jeans. "I'm looking for Hunter Reyes. He worked here." The kid, Tyler, name badge red, frowned. "Yeah, man. Bounced a month back. Family drama, I guess. Left some gear." He nodded to a corner crate, Noah's breath catching at the sight. Hunter's backup lenses, a strap monogrammed HR. "Any forwarding? Where'd he go?" Tyler shrugged, mumbled something about Texas, Brothers Ranch, or whatever. Said he needed reset. Looked wrecked, dude. Texas. The word landed like a gut punch, yanking the thread south again. Another 1,400 miles, a frontier of dust and denial. Noah thanked him, pocketing a stray print. Hunter's self-portrait, eyes shadowed, a redwood grove framing his solitude. It fit in his wallet beside the Polaroid, dual ghosts now. He drove that night through Inland Empire sprawl, lights blurring to streaks, radio crooning Johnny Cash's Hurt like a dirge. Motel in Riverside. Thin walls thumping with neighbors' arguments. Noah staring at ceiling cracks mapping his fractures. Dreams came violent. Hunter's truck swerving, Noah reaching, fingers grazing air. Wakefulness brought clarity. This chase wasn't salvage. It was surgery, cutting out the rot to breathe free. But the pull persisted, a tether frayed but unbroken. He hit the road at first light. I-10 east a conveyor of semis and sun, crossing deserts where Joshua trees clawed sky like pleas. El Paso loomed by midnight, border lights flickering distant, and Noah checked into a chain off the interstate, room sterile as regret. Dinner from a vending machine, chips and soda fizzing false energy, and he wrote, "Texas tomorrow." If he's running home, what does that make me? The detour. The panhandle unfolded vast, windmills turning lazy under big skies that dwarfed doubt. Amarillo's stockyards reeked of earth and enterprise, cowboys and Stetsons herding cattle like echoes of hunters' tales. Noah queried feed stores and bars, drawing blanks until a mechanic in Lubbock, grease monkey hands wiping brow, lit up. "Reyes? Yeah, passed through last week. Headed to some spread near Abilene. Family name, I think. Big operation. Abilene." Noah's GPS purred directions. 2 hours north, plains rolling golden. Adrenaline surged, white-knuckled on wheel, as thunderheads gathered west, promising storm. The ranch gate swung open on rusty hinges. Reyes Cattle Company, arched in iron, acres of dust, and longhorn silhouetted against brewing clouds. Noah parked, boots crunching gravel, heart thunderous. A foreman approached, weathered face under cowboy hat, eyes narrowing. "Can I help?" "Hunter Reyes. He here." The man spat tobacco juice, gaze appraising. "Ain't seen him in years. Papa runs tight ship, no room for wanderers." The pause hung loaded, implication clear. Noah pressed. "Just need to talk. Please." A nod toward the house, a sprawling ranch style with wraparound porch. Inside, cool tile and leather scents, A woman in apron, Mrs. Reyes, Hunter's mother, froze at the door, rosary beads clicking. Who are you? Noah Harlan. Friend of Hunter's. Her face crumpled, then hardened. He ain't here. Left again, that boy? Always running. She poured coffee, hands trembling, words spilling. The pressure, the expectations. Eldest son to inherit, marry right, bury the parts that didn't fit. We tried to fix him. Church, therapy. But Noah's throat tightened. He was whole with me. She met his eyes, sorrow mirroring. Then why'd he run? Thunder cracked outside, rain sheeting, and in the downpour's roar, a truck pulled up. Hunter, soaked, emerging like apparition, duffel slung. Their gazes locked through window glass, time fracturing. Hunter's face, haggard, stubble thick, hazel eyes raw, mirrored Noah's own wreckage. The door banged open, silence shattering. You? Hunter breathed, water pooling at boots. Me, Noah echoed, standing. One summer. You promised. Hunter's mother slipped away, leaving them in the kitchen's hush, storm-raging symphony. Hunter dropped the bag, steps hesitant, then surged forward, arms crushing Noah close, sobs muffled in shoulder. I couldn't. Papa found out. The photos, the lies. Said I'd lose everything. Noah held tight, fury and forgiveness warring. You lost us. Words tumbled then. Hunter's confession, the call from his father, ultimatum stark, flight to Seattle, a rebellion crushed by guilt. The note, the vanishing, self-preservation's cowardice. I thought space would fix it, but it carved me hollow. Noah pulled back, searching that face he'd mapped in dreams. Space? Or surrender? Hunter's eyes dropped. Both. I betrayed us to save face. Lightning forked, illuminating cracks, literal, in plaster, metaphorical, in trust. Noah's voice broke. I drove 2,000 miles for one day. That what we are now? Ghosts. Hunter reached, fingers brushing cheek, thumb tracing tear track. No, let me make it right. They talked through the night, storm a veil, confessions peeling layers. Hunter's internalized shame, Noah's fear of abandonment etched from youth. Dawn crept gray, coffee cold, and in the fragile light, Hunter whispered, come with me. Not summer, just now. We'll build from wreckage. Noah hesitated, heart a battlefield. Betrayal's scar throbbed, but love's ember glowed defiant. One day, he said finally, echoing their vow. Then we see. They rose, hands clasped, stepping into rain-washed air. The ranch faded rear view as Hunter's truck, reclaimed from impound. 8 Highway West. Noah beside. Journal open to a new page. Not a road trip of promise, but pilgrimage. Toward authenticity, arms linked against tempests. Miles unspooled, conversations weaving repair. Hunter's plan to freelance from Portland, distance a buffer from family chains. Noah's journals, now collaborative, stories etched in shared ink. Stops came gentle. Picnics in roadside groves. Hands rediscovering touch tentative, then tender. In the end, it wasn't perfection reclaimed, but humanity forged. 2 men, scarred and sovereign, choosing each other amid ruins. One summer lost, countless dawns won. Freedom's price was pain, but compassion's yield, boundless.